Hello and welcome back. And as you can see, I'm passing the Cabazon dinosaurs, which means I'm heading east out of Los Angeles. But this trip is going to take us around the Salton Sea. I was always told that anything with salt water was called a sea and fresh water is called a lake. And so many people refer to the Salton Sea as a lake. I'll let you decide. The Salton Sea is a shallow, landlocked, highly saline body of water in Imperial County at the southern end of California. It lies on the San Andreas Fault within the Salton Trough that stretches to the Gulf of California and Mexico. I read Salton Sea is 22% saltier than the Pacific Oceans. My first stop is Desert Shores, located on the northwest of the Salton Sea. The population as of 2021 is 574. As the sea recedes, the plans for the canal homes, with the sea receding, has left them high and dry. It seems to me Desert Shores is the best survived community around the Salton Sea due to its close proximity to Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley. In early 1900, they dug about 700 miles of canals from the Colorado River to bring water to the Imperial Valley for irrigation. Back then, the Salton Sea was a dry lake bed called the Salton Sink. Heading south from Desert Shores, the next community is Salton Sea Beach. Its population in 2021 was 261. After time, the canals sustained a buildup of silt, so a series of cuts were made in the banks of the Colorado River to increase the water flow. In 1905, water from spring floods broke through the canal, diverting a portion of the river flow into the Salton Basin for over 2 years, and the Salton Sea was born. The water in the formerly dry lake bed created a modern lake, which is about 15 by 35 miles. You can put Catalina Island in the center of Salton Sea, and it would still be an island. Traveling further south from Salton Sea Beach, the next community is Salton City. The 2021 census claims 6,250 people reside in Salton City. Salton City is a special place for me. As a kid growing up, we had a vacation home there with motorcycles and dune buggies. This is a homemade Honda 750 dune buggy that I tool around with my sister. Even my mom got in on the action. My father worked out of this circus tent in May of 1958, as it was the only structure for Salton Sands Realty. Moved on later to Mar Vista sales out of this strip mall, which is still there, but it's had a makeover for sure. This Mexican restaurant in my day was a motorcycle and boat repair shop. And West Shores Market and Post Office is still there. That's the only store to get supplies. We had fun as kids playing in the Salton Community Park, as they had a swimming pool to beat the desert heat. Planned and developed as a large resort community with an extensive 250 miles of roads that mostly lead to nowhere, it maintains water, sewer, and a power grid capable of supporting 40,000 residents on 12,000 residential lots. As of the 2010 census, 81% of the surveyed lots remain undeveloped. 38% of the habitable residents are unoccupied. This was our family vacation home. Those 3 palm trees were no bigger than me when I was a kid. This is the front of the home. I cannot believe how huge those oleander bushes grew as well. I spent my entire childhood coming here every other weekend on the pretense we had to water those oleander plants. I'm not sure if that was the true reason or a reason to go to the desert. Salton City was definitely the largest of the 3 big communities on the West Shore. People rushed to buy land and property. With the opening of the Salton Bay Yacht Club in May of 1961, it changed everything. People would swarm here by the thousands, literally. Shortly after the yacht club was built, the Salton Bay Hotel was built to accommodate even more people. Water skiing, fishing, the Salton 500 boat race drew crowds for years. The boat races were pretty amazing. I believe in 2009, someone set a record doing 125 miles an hour on water. Crazy. Astronauts Grisham and Cooper joined the Salton Sea boat races in 1965. Campgrounds were built. Mobile home parks were built. Motels and hotels sprung up everywhere around Salton City. Fishing wasn't a big sport in Salton Sea. They took covina out of the Gulf of California and brought them to the sea, and they flourished. They're a fun fish to go fishing for, as they were fighters, and people loved to battle those fish and fry them up around the campfire at night. Salton City had its own airstrip and a 9-hole golf course, complete with grass in the middle of the desert when the temperatures can reach 120 in the summer. In February of '68, Eisenhower visited Salton City's golf courses and yacht club. So the popularity of this accidental sea was short-lived. In the early 70s, the sea experienced monsoon rain for 2 years in a row. Runoff from the surrounding Coachella and Imperial valleys all drained into the Salton Sea, as it sits 265 feet below sea level. Marinas, campgrounds, mobile home parks were all flooded out. By the mid to late 70s, the rising salinity, shoreline flooding, and fertilizer runoff from nearby farms created unsafe algae blooms, which gave rise to elevated bacterial levels, killing the fish and causing a horrible odor from the sea. To try and save the sea, they brought in tilapia, hoping to eat the algae blooms. However, they bred like rabbits and took over the Salton Sea. Again, when the temperatures changed, they would die off by the thousands. Hence the smell and the fish bones that line the edges of Salton Sea. And where the yacht club was, it was built right on the edge of this rise. And when you were eating dinner, the water would splash up and almost hit the windows. Right here, you can still see parts of the foundation. And that water would be like right against the building. And look how far away it is now. Crazy. And then they dug these big canals over here and had a boat ramp where you see those pilings, and then built houses on both sides of the fingers so everybody had waterfront views. Yeah, they're not getting that anymore. That's where the motel used to be. And the pool's right through those trees. And where I'm standing used to be the yacht club. Crazy. So I'm standing on the edge where the yacht club used to be. Just take a look how far the water has receded. Now, after all the flooding, Imperial Valley needed more water. So they shut off all incoming water from the Colorado River into the Salton Sea. So for decades now, it's been receding. Here's a quick story my father told me. He said he had to kick out a couple hippies from the yacht club. He goes, these hippies showed up in a fancy limo and refused to put shoes on. He goes, their names I think were Sonny and Cher. After leaving Salton City, I traveled down the south side of the sea and back up to what we refer to as the North Shore, to Nyland, California. It was getting late, it was getting dark, so I needed a place to camp out. So what better place than the Fountain of Youth RV, Resort, and Spa. For $30 for the night, they have a dry camping facility in the back corner, and it allows you all the access to the spa and mineral pools. This place was amazing. They had a market, a snack bar, full use of the entire resort, beautiful clean restrooms and showers, and the Fountain of Youth. There it is, my friends. If you ever wondered where it was, it's located just outside of Nyland, California. More on that a little bit later. The next morning, I left the Fountain of Youth Resort and Spa and headed to Slab City, known as the Slabs. It is an off-grid, alternative lifestyle community consisting largely of snowbirds, located in the Sonoran Desert. It is the site of the Marine Corps training area named Camp Dunlap. Slab City took its name from the concrete slab that remained after World War II, when they decommissioned and demolished the buildings. Slab City is known for attracting people who want to live outside the Main Street society. The area that is now Slab City was the artillery training range for the camp. It was first settled by a few veterans who had worked at the Marine base, followed later by drifters. Then recreational vehicle owners searching for free camping spots outside of Palm Springs. Current residents refer to themselves as Slabbies, while tourists are called Normies. Slab City is often quoted as the last free place in America and a lawless town, which I found to be completely untrue. They even have a few churches. There's a Church of Beer and the Church of Enlightenment. One of my favorite stops in Slab City is East Jesus. It's an experimental, sustainable, and habitable art installation. There's no religious reference in the name East Jesus. It's a place in the middle of nowhere beyond the edge of serviceability. The off-grid facility operates with no municipal utilities, as well as Slab City in itself has no running water, electricity, or sewer system. It's completely off-grid. East Jesus features a variety of art, such as live events, performance art, music, photography, and most prominently, sculptures. Works are continually added and degraded quickly in the desert climate, despite the presence of caretakers. One such volunteer referred to it and Slab City as a whole as a salvaged punk. East Jesus pieces are described as decaying or growing, but always in a state of transformation. Unlike traditional galleries, due both to the intense climate and the thousands of contributing artists who have added to the installation. In early 2007, Charlie Russell left his job in the technology industry, packed all his belongings into a shipping container, and sent it to the trash-strewn field, where he began to surround his 2 cars with sculptures. Russell, often called Container Charlie, renamed the settlement site East Jesus. He died in May of 2011. The Chasteris Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit formed after his death in 2011, has since guided the curation and expansion of East Jesus. This bottle wall has nothing on Knott's Berry Farm's bottle house. I'm sure these decoy ducks probably floated to the shores of the Salton Sea from hunters, and this robot in the trees, crazy. Hey Deanne, there's some googly eyes for you. This house looks like something out of The Wizard of Oz. However, I saw no legs from the Wicked Witch sticking out. Many of the pieces have leftover artillery shells, as this is still an active bombing range. Many of the slabbers will go into those chocolate mountains and get the copper and use that as a source of income. However, it is highly illegal. I could think of a few kids I'd like to send to this playground. Annually, there's an event in Black Rock City in Nevada called Burning Man. And I believe some of these vehicles are considered art cars that people would bring there to drive around. This Cadillac is amazing. Talk about fins. Nearby towns use Slab City as a dumping ground. It's kind of sad, but it's kind of remarkable that they could take items that were dumped here and turn them into art. Slab City is a community. It has libraries, a bike shop, restaurants, and bars. They have an internet cafe, and Solar Bob will help provide you with solar power. East Jesus is the only area that the land is owned by the 501(c). The rest of the land is owned by the state. Slab City is divided into a handful of neighborhoods with different characteristics. Thousands of camper and RVers, many retired, use the area during the winter months. As we all know, snowbirds. Despite the high temperatures in summer, which can reach to over 120 degrees, there is about 150 permanent residents in Slab City. During the winter months when the snowbirds come, this can exceed 3,000. Next door to East Jesus is the House of Dots. Dot is an amazing woman, and she makes art by finding dead animals and taking their bones and creating art out of them. She's super nice, super friendly, and I enjoyed the tour she gave me of her place. As you drive through Slab City, you'll see the building material of choice is pallets. These walled off areas are camps, private camps, which you can rent a space from. It's pretty doggone cool. You also have Peter. Peter's quite a character. He does a lot of things with Adobe, and he creates these Salvation Mountain, little mountains that you can buy, and he's known for having one of the best porta potties in Slab City. So women, these are for you. His outdoor kitchen was all hand built with Adobe, and he also has made himself a pizza oven out of Adobe as well, and his homemade barbecue pit. Quite nice, actually. Very talented man. Across the street from Peter's place is The Range. This is an outdoor concert venue, and it's active every Saturday night. I then headed over to what they termed the tanks. It's my understanding this was the sewage treatment plant for Camp Dunlap back in the day. Now there's some artists who have done some pretty cool graffiti art, I guess you might call it, inside and outside of the tanks. This tank looks like they were farming in there, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea considering its past. Next to the tanks is a place called Carhedge. So just like in England, we have our own Stonehenge, but made with cars. There have been over 20 motion pictures filmed here. Example is the 2007 Into the Wild and 2019 Cactus Blossom. This is what they call Soul Tree. So this is an area where you dispose of all your old shoes, or if you've lost a shoe. I think I wish I had one for socks. I could fill it up. And then you have the old Olympic swimming pool that is now the Slab City skate park. This is one of the original Camp Dunlap entry gates. And the citizens of Slab City have their own natural hot springs. Many bathe in here, and the runoff goes through some fields, and by the time it ends up into the drain before it hits the canal, they built this ladder, and that water has cooled off enough. They call this the cold shower. And you just climb down the ladder and take your shower. The runoff goes into the canals that actually feed Imperial County or Coachella Valley's irrigation district. It's pretty sad. The Colorado River irrigation canals run on two sides of Slab City, all of which is fenced off, and it's illegal for them to extract water from it. They have services that bring in water, and they have tanks at their camps for bathing and showering and cooking. After a long day at Slab City, it's time to head out. I purposely did not film or record people like other YouTubers while I was in Slab City. I wanted to give them some respect. Until next time, love you, Mom.